Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I've talked to you a lot about the melody flutes, so today I want to define exactly what they are. You probably already know because I've shown you a lot of them, but I thought that today I would give you a list, and what I have done is brought a sample of each kind with me for the most part. There are 2 or 3 I don't have simply because I couldn't carry them all, but for the most part I have a sample of each one with me. So let me read off this first, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you the instruments, and I'm going to show you the fingering patterns because they're very, very similar. As a matter of fact, if you've learned an instrument already, such as the saxophone, the clarinet, the flute, the regular instruments, most of the other instruments, the melody flutes, even though a lot of them are simpler, have a very same or very close fingering patterns. That makes it easier for you to transfer your knowledge from one instrument to another. Now, I have over 300 instruments in my collection. Some of them are very ancient, some of them are very rare, but a lot of them have similar fingerings, and so therefore I can just play them because I've learned basically the things about the woodwinds that count, and I can kind of modify and tweak an instrument and get it to play. And so I haven't had lessons certainly on 300 instruments, but I certainly can transfer what I know from the woodwinds that I've studied to the other instruments because it's basically the same. So let me go through this list. The recorders and the melody flutes. This is what I want to start with. You do have the recorders, and this is basically what I'm using because that's kind of a springboard for all of the other instruments. They come in colors. They come in white. You have translucents that you can see through. You have straight melody instruments that they have no bell. They're just almost like a stick. They're like a cylindrical shape or a conical shape coming to a point, but like they're straight. I'll show them to you. You have end-blown flutes, which the mouthpiece is a little different than what you would get in the regular recorders. The regular recorders have fipple mouthpieces, but end-blown flutes do it a little bit differently, but somewhat similar. You have the Peruvian and the Caribbean flutes, the wooden flutes, Israeli flutes, penny whistles, sasutos, tonettes, song flutes, flutophones, ocarinas, melodicas. I didn't bring a melodica with me. There was just too much for me to carry. Hall's crystal flutes, and I don't have that with me either. The fifes, the regular flutes, piccolos, and pan flutes. Those are all that I consider to be melody flutes. They're flutes because you blow into them, they play like flutes, they finger like flutes. Usually they have a fipple mouthpiece or a hole that you blow across. You see, a saxophone wouldn't be a melody flute, but the fingering patterns for the saxophone are very similar to all of the melody flutes, so I do want to demonstrate that to you by showing you charts today. So all of these, so I'm going to run through this list again. Color in white, translucent, and straight melody flutes, end-blowns, Peruvians, Caribbeans, the wooden and Israeli flutes, penny whistles, sasutos, tonettes, song flutes, flutophones, ocarinas, melodicas, Hall's crystal flutes, fifes, regular flutes, piccolos, and pan flutes. Who knew there were so many that would be melody flutes? What makes them melody flutes? They play in the treble clef. They play an octave or two from the middle C on up. The regular flutes get 3 octaves, but most of them get 1 to 2 octaves. And then they have a situation where you blow across them or you blow into them. You're not using any reeds or anything like that, which would make them woodwinds, but it wouldn't make them melody flutes. So I'm focusing on those flutes today. So I have them here in no particular order, but I want to show them to you, and then we'll see what they are. Now, first of all, the recorders, and I have a group of them here, and this happens to be a Yamaha. Yamahas have never disappointed me. They're always wonderful. They've never let me down, and they last for years. All you have to do for an instrument to last for a long, long time is take care of it. This is a Fipple mouthpiece. Most of the recorders have a Fipple mouthpiece. It looks like that. It kind of comes to a point, well, not exactly a point, but a higher area here, and then it scoops down, and you put your mouth there. You have a labium in the front. You have a tone hole in the back. You have all of your tone holes for the regular notes in the front. You blow into it, left hand on top, right hand on the bottom, and that's true of almost every woodwind everywhere in the world is the same thing. Even the saxophones, the clarinets, the flutes, all of them use that same pattern of left hand on top, right hand on the bottom. So let me go through some of these. This is a wooden flute, and it's Israeli. It's a gill. And they're wonderful flutes. I have one that has a plastic top and a wooden bottom. They play very well. They're just like any other flute, but this is Israeli. You know, a recorder is a recorder is a recorder, no matter where you get it. But this is an Israeli recorder. Now, you have your translucence. The translucence you can see through. And it plays just like any one. Now, I realize on the monitor it seems to look blue to me, but actually it is green. It's a green recorder. But you can see, if I put my hand here, you can probably see through it. So you can see images of my hand on the screen. And it has speckles on it. I don't know if that comes out on the screen or not. It has speckles on it. This is a translucent recorder. I do have a couple more here that I want to show you. This is a lavender one, very beautiful, looks very beautiful on the screen, and it's got all kinds of speckles in it. It was done for the design of it. You know, a lot of these instruments are made to interest children, and I never grew up quite anyway. And it's speckled, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I wanted you to see that. Same thing. You have the tone hole in the back, although that might not come out very well on the television because of the speckled nature. Labium here, Fipple mouthpiece. There's a little block. I talk about the block. There's a little area that has a little piece of plastic or wood in it, and it swings. You don't see it in the inside, but part of it is in the inside, and it forms part of the mouthpiece, and you know it's there because there's a shape to it that you can see, although I'm not sure television can pick this up, but I can see it a little on the monitor. If I use the Yamaha, you can see that block. It's a little darker than the regular color. It's right here. But that goes inside, and there's a part of it that circles around, and it directs the air, so the air can only come out in a certain place. So anyway, that would be the block. Now, here's a translucent, and it's obvious. You can see right through it. I've got a blue one, and I've got a red one. And you can see basically it's the tube. It's basically a tube. And all of the apparatus, you see, is going to be in the Fipple mouthpiece, which you can see a little bit of. I like to use these because I like to have students see just how these are constructed. They're a simple instrument, but they can play some very complicated music. How can you play such complicated music on a simple instrument? Well, I've developed some techniques. Of course, any recorder person will know that you can half hold, and that gives you half steps like sharps and flats, just by making sure that your finger is not covering the hole completely. And in the back, and this is a good way to show you, for octaves, you pull your thumb down and you don't cover the hole completely. You cover it about halfway. It's called half holing. It's a good way when you do it on the front key or on the front tone holes to get sharps and flats. When you do it on the back, I can see it, of course, because I'm sitting right in front of it. I'm not sure what you can see. You get octaves with it. You can go from low to high, high to low, just by moving your thumb. Regular woodwinds, of course, have what's called an octave mechanism, and you have a key that you press, and it'll give you an octave up, and you just release the key, and you go back down to the lower octave. But these are pretty unsophisticated, and yet I can do Messiah pieces. I will arrange classical music for recorders. If you can tweak it a little, help it along a little, and I have a group of fingerings that I made up that you'll never see on a fingering chart, you can play all kinds of music on a recorder, and I do love them for that. Now, here is a little recorder like, I've got 3 of these here. These are called magic flutes. They're put out by First Note, and they're just plain cylindrical instruments. You have what is like a Fipple mouthpiece on top. You can see the labium very close to the mouthpiece where you blow it in, and it's just a straight shot. It's cylindrical. It does not come down to a point. There are any number of these, and some of them play very well. They play like a recorder would play, except for the fact they do not have a tone hole in the back. And that's going to cause them to pitch a little bit differently. So if I want to play an A on a recorder, if I play the A in the recorder, that's what I get. If I play it on an instrument without a tone hole in the back, it pitches down by about a half step or a step. But nonetheless, they're quite easy to play. And the tone holes are the same as it would be like a recorder. You have to cover them completely. If you don't cover them completely, then you don't get the note. Unless you're deliberately half-holing because you want a sharp or a flat, then you can do that. They're not quite as sophisticated as a regular recorder, but they do work. As a matter of fact, here's a blue one. Same thing, and you notice that the holes for the fingers, I hope it shows up clearly, are different sizes to accommodate your hand, to accommodate your fingers. So you have a small hole right here, you have a large one on top, and it plays just like a recorder. And this is the blue one. And there's some of them come so that they have, and I'm going to show this to you, the keys are raised. And I think it's just a design feature. It doesn't change the tone or anything like that, but it makes it easier for you to figure out, if you're a beginning student, where you put your fingers, because all of the keys are raised. How would you know? You know, if you have an instrument that's like one of the First Note instruments, where you have a level playing field here. All of the holes are flat with the instrument. How do you know where your fingers go? You can feel it, you know, you can feel it. The one thing that you are taught as a musician never to do is to keep looking to see if your hands are in the right spot. Because if you do, you're going to be looking and not paying attention to the music. But you can feel where those holes are. But it's going to be a little easier when you do it with an instrument like this. And this is called, this is a Dixie. It's a different brand. It's a Dixie. But it's very, very evident when you put your hands on it exactly where your fingers go because of the raised tone holes. I want to put this in a position where you can really see it, that they are sticking up. There, you can see it there, I think, where they're really, and in the back, there's no tone hole, but there's a place here where you put your thumb. It's indented, there's a little form, and your thumb fits right in here. And on the bottom, there's a little place where your right-hand thumb goes. It hooks right in there. So that's just a design feature. It makes it easier to know where you place your hands. And you place your hands, usually your thumb is about opposite where your first finger is on the left hand, where you would play your first note. If you were going to play a B, that would be your first note. Okay, so that's that. Now, there are Caribbean recorders. Let me give you this, show you this. This is from the Caribbean. And my sister picked it up at a mall. It's very nicely decorated. It's bamboo. A lot of these Caribbean instruments are all bamboo, and they're all handmade. and they're all hand painted, and they can be quite beautiful. There's a butterfly on the top, looks like a butterfly to me, and different design features. Now this is a small one, you can get large ones too, and it has the same kind of Fipple mouthpiece. There is a tone hole in the back. When my sister picked it up, she picked it up at a mall and decided this would be a cute little Christmas gift for me, and she had a friend with her, and they tried it and they couldn't make it play. And they said, they were so embarrassed. They said, "Oh, we can't make it play. It's not a good gift." I took it and I played beautifully in the key of D. I had no trouble at all. So you kind of have to know the woodwinds sometimes to know exactly what the trick is. Well, you do have the tone hole in the back, as I mentioned. In the front, all of the tone holes are the same size. Now that's a bit unusual. Most of the expensive recorders will have the tone holes a different size to accommodate your fingers, because your fingers aren't all the same size, and so therefore they accommodate your fingers. But it plays very well. Left hand on top, right hand on the bottom, all these designs. I took it home when my sister bought it for me, and I thanked her for it, and they said, "But it's a bad gift, it doesn't play." And I said, "Yeah, but probably I can make it play." And I sat down, and she's an organist, and I play woodwinds, and we did a whole bunch of Christmas carols, and it played fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You just have to know what to do with it. This is a Moroccan end-blown. The end-blown flutes are different because they don't have a Fipple mouthpiece in the way that we have it. But if you will look, I need to check with the monitor. Sorry, I'm looking over that way so much. But there's just a little hole right where my finger is. That's the mouthpiece right there, just that little hole. And then the labium is going to be right here. So you have the labium here, which is the place where the air comes out, and you have your mouthpiece right there where you blow in. They're like right together. So what's the key of playing it? You have to be able to get the air in that hole without having your mouth cover the labium. So that's kind of a trick. It can be done, and it plays well. Some of these end-blown flutes have the labium on the back side, and this is the same. All of the keyholes, all of the finger holes are in the front. There's quite a stretch to them, but the labium is in the back. That's unusual. And where you blow into is the back. There's no swooping up with some kind of a bridge for you to blow into. So it takes a little time to learn how to play it. It is quite playable. The figure stretches are kind of hard to manage, though. They're much greater than you would get on a normal recorder. So you blow into it, and the labium's in the back, the tone holes are in the front, and you cannot cover the labium with your mouth, but you have to have your lips between that labium and the top part where you blow in. So that's just a small space there for you to do that. But if you do that right, you can get some really nice tones out of these end-blown flutes. I have a number of them from the Caribbean nations. Now, what do I want to do next? I want to do these two. These are fifes. What's the difference between a fife and a regular recorder? They have just a hole. With a flute, you have the holes with a built-up area. I'll show you on my piccolo that they are raised up. This is a hole that's flat to the instrument. That is, it's like a tone hole, except it's larger, and you blow across it, and that makes it a fife. And you hold it up this way like you would if you were playing a flute. That makes it a fife. You don't have any area that is developed around here. Let me show you one more. This looks a little like a flute. It actually is a fife. It's the same kind of thing, but I use it a lot because it's made to look like a flute. There's a small area, it's not very big, right around here, where it's built up a little, but it's mainly a design feature. I don't know, Rick, if you can pick this up or not. Okay, it's just a little bit raised, just a little bit raised. But it's basically even, and that holds the air, and it's pretty much flat to the instrument. The fact that it's raised up a little is just a design feature. You blow across it, you hold it up like this. Now, what I showed you before, this is made out of water pipe. It was a friend of mine who made it for me because he met me and he wanted to see all my instruments because somebody had told him that I had a lot. And so I invited him to see some of the instruments, and I had them all laid out for him. And as a gift for me, because he loves instruments, is he made me this flute out of water pipe. He says, take it to the beach. You can sit on it. You can fill it with sand. You know, all kinds of things can happen to it. You can't destroy it, just rinse it off. Now, a lot of my instruments, you would not be able to do that. So this is another fife, but I want to show you my piccolo. This is the piccolo. I brought it in because it's easier to carry than the flute. And you can see that there's a built-up area around the mouthpiece. All flutes have this. All piccolos have this. And it's a very interesting little thing because everything is tiny on it. And if you're to play it, B, A, G, F, E, D, but it doesn't go down to the C. D is the lowest that it gets, yet it is in the key of C. Why not have another key? It's just too tiny to hold one. B, A, G, F, E, D. Now, I won't be able to do it in this show because I don't have much time left, but I want to show you the rest of them, and I want to show you the fingering patterns between them because they're very, very similar. But that's the piccolo. Let me see. I'm going to, I just have a few minutes left. I'm going to continue with this because we're not going to finish with this before the end of this session. My penny whistles, I brought 2 of them. They're cylindrical, Fipple mouthpiece, straight, all metal. This is gold with a green top, and they come in different sizes and colors, and they come in different keys, of course. The larger ones are in a different key than the smaller ones, and you have your tone holes in the front, but there's no tone hole in the backs of these instruments. And so they're very much like a recorder, but they're going to pitch a little different because of not having the tone hole in the back. But you can see B, A, G, F, E, D. Plastic mouthpieces and metal. It's like a metal little shaft here. And it is cylindrical. It doesn't come to a point. Now, I'm going to close it here because we really don't have time for me to go on. I'm going to continue with this next time, and we'll probably finish most of it. If not, then we'll just do it until we finish it. So we'll close it here. Please join me next time.